So, welcome to our first devlog. My name is Jason, and over here we have...
I'm Kami, and I am the animator, modeler, and the overall vibe of the game.
The overall vibe.
The vibe.
You're the vibe curator, the vibe
curator, and Jason is the genius behind, he's like the Wizard of Oz, you know, the dude in the room.
Yeah, I mean, to keep it simple, you're the artist, I'm the developer. But yeah, you know, we're two sides of that game creation coin.
We're like the Sacagawea dollar, not like a 25-cent quarter.
Ooh, I like that. I haven't thought about those golden dollar coins.
Yeah, I used to collect those.
They're so cool. But let's not get too far off. Yeah, why don't you start off by introducing yourself and like your visual style, your influences, because that's like what drew me to you.
Yeah, so a lot of my art is inspired by kind of point and click games, old e-learning CD-ROMs that you'd get at like the book fair.
The Scholastic book fair.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, those were the days. It's like that stuff was so mid, but I was so excited for it anyways.
Yeah, my mom only gave me like a little bit of money, so I had to buy like the cheapest thing, and those were usually like the cheapest thing you could get at the book fair, and you'd get the most janky ass game.
That's what I'm saying. Like those games were so mid, but it was still exciting just because it was like...
It was an experience.
Yeah. And it was like a fun thing that school did, where like school sucks, but
yeah,
you had the book fair and it was like, oh, like you can go home with a video game. But yeah, please continue.
Yeah, so my art is kind of like mostly inspired by that. A lot of surrealism, a lot of liminal stuff. And it's inspired by like nature and spirits and gods and everything that's really unexplained in this world. And I kind of like just mix it and mash it up together like a good potato salad, you know? There's like some potatoes. I guess there's some mustard and mayonnaise in it as well, you know?
Yeah. And I don't know how much you want to put this in, but your art is very personal to you. The fact that your art is really personal to you, I feel like that comes through in the art. You know, like it feels there's something really special about it.
Yeah.
And it feels very like heartfelt and honest. And that's something that also really attracted me to it.
Yeah, totally. My main character is based off of two of my childhood dogs. One was Sabbath and the other one was named DOG. DOG was a Dalmatian, so that's kind of like where his vibes and looks came from. But yeah, like all my characters are something I interacted with or experienced with in real life. There's definitely like a backstory to all of it. I won't dive into it, but it's weird because a lot of people come up to me and they say like, for some reason, your art kind of like resonates with me in a weird way. Like it scratches my brain and I can't explain it.
I mean, the way that I would describe it, or the way that I would describe like the appeal of it to me is that like it scratches a very nostalgic itch for me that like nothing else has scratched since I originally saw that stuff. Like since those Scholastic Book Fair days, I haven't seen games or like works of art with graphics like that. To see that come through your art, I'm like, whoa, like I remember this, and I remember it really fondly because it was like a thing that I was excited about at school with friends and stuff. And so like, not only do I remember that fondly, but like the fondness of the art itself is there. And so like the really heartfelt elements of the characters and everything, it's just so special. It's so cool. And so that leads us right into how we met and how we teamed up, right? Because I was staying in Japan, and it's funny, I was staying at this share house through this company called Sakura House, and they sponsor certain events and stuff and provide like free tickets to their residents to certain events. And one of those events was Design Festa, which you had a booth at last year. When I saw that you were going to be there, I was like, okay, I'm definitely going. I definitely want to see Kami's stuff and meet that guy. And I definitely want to ask him if he's making a video game because like all of your art, it looks like it should be a video game.
Yeah.
And it's clearly like inspired by video games. And it was friggin' awesome. He had all this cool stuff set up, and We had a really nice conversation.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people were telling me to make a video game, and that was never really my plan. I just made art that really resonated with me with those types of video games that I grew up with. And, I was always thinking about it after people were telling me constantly to make a video game, but I just never had the opportunity. And, luckily you came along and you told me that you'd be interested in working together. And I thought about it for a while. At first, I tried to make my own video game and I was like, dude, there's no way. It was just a headache to really make that kind of stuff. I posted on my story. I was, looking for a game developer to help me with this project. And I was like, man, I hope Jason of the Storm messages me. I felt like we really connected when we talked and we chatted. So I was hoping, maybe you had some free time, but I didn't want to message you directly, but I wanted to see if you were still interested in it. And luckily, it came into fruition. So
when we initially talked, I was wondering if you were going to do it yourself and that you would just need some help or a direction, because I have some experience teaching Unity. And so I was like, oh, well, if you need help just learning the ropes, I'd be happy to just show you and then let you take it from there. But yeah, then I saw that you're on your story that you were looking for somebody, and I was just like, dude, I'm still here, man. And especially at the time, I wasn't working a job or anything. I was attending an online university, kind of just sucking the life out of my days. And as much as I was occupied with that, I needed something to balance that out. So when we talked about starting a project together, I was like, oh, this will be so cool to have something fun to work on that isn't just boring old school stuff. And yeah, we started talking that day that I replied to your story, right? I was like, are you available for a Discord call right now? And we hopped on a call and we ended up screen sharing, and I fired up Unity and you fired up Blender, and we just got straight to work.
Are you ready to take the magic of the Imaginasium home? Well, come on down to the Kami Shop and go first today. Bigger shirts, bags, hats and bags, and even more to come. Visit KAMIEXP.com. That is KamiEXP.com. みんな紙ショップで待ってるね。
yeah, so we've been working on this game for 5 or 6 months now. And this whole time, we basically just been trying to get the feel right, try to get the mechanics right. We were going through a bunch of different directions that we wanted to do, maybe a roguelike thing, we don't know. It was a bunch of trial and error, but at the end of the day, we were both working pretty well and pretty efficient and progressing pretty fast. I was pretty surprised how fast we were moving.
And yeah, at the beginning, we were I remember, of course, you asked me what would a Kami game look like to you? We were talking about having an isometric kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or you were talking about almost like a Pokemon, creature monster collection type of thing.
RPG. We had no idea.
Well, I had an idea. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel for me it was pretty clear that I was if there's a Kami game, I imagine it being a Nintendo 64 style platformer adventure game. Like a Super Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie. One game that I bring up a lot is Mystical Ninja starring Goemon. Something with a really colorful cast of characters and fun world to explore, artistic world to explore, and just to bring your world to life through that format. So that really just stuck and made so much logical sense. So we've been sailing ahead on that.
Right now, we got the mechanics, or at least the player movement, pretty solid. It's kind of like Mario 64, but I feel like it's a little faster, and the character can move a little bit more than what... I mean, I think Mario 64's moveset is way more complicated than ours, but I like the way our character moves.
Yeah, we have some nice air-based moves that can be chained together to do like really long jumps and stuff. And yeah, I think at first we were like, oh, let's not make the moves too complicated. But then we just moved like kind of closer and closer to Mario 64. But then, of course, like we're not in the 90s. We can modernize it. And we can also just like cut out things that we personally aren't a big fan of. Like me personally, like I like being able to move straight forward and then turn around and move straight back without the character making like a U-turn. You know, I'm really insistent on like having it be a bit more precise and responsive. But then, you know, Mario 64 has all the cool tricks where you like reverse direction and then do the cartwheel jump and stuff like that. I don't think we're going to go that crazy with it. But yeah, we got some nice moves that you can combo together. And that's really the main foundation of the game, is like the character movement if you're making a platformer, right? But then we're also kind of between platformer and adventure, right? Because there's a lot of characters that we want to put into this game and a lot of lore about the world that we want to drop. And we don't want to just make like a straight up collectathon. But of course, that's going to be a huge part of the game. And that's stuff that we're still kind of feeling out and figuring out, like, how is that balance going to work? And like, what exactly is that balance going to be?
I released a short film a while ago about the Imaginasium, which is where...
God, we haven't even talked about the Imaginasium
I know,
yet.
yeah.
Short film,
we haven't talked about it. Yeah, so my characters are based in this gigantic castle called the Imaginasium.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen the short film, Imaginasium, go watch it, because that's ultimately, like, that's what this is based on.
That is basically the start. And in the Imaginasium, there's doors, and each room houses a spirit and kind of is a reflection of what kind of spirit they are, you know, and what their environment would be like. And basically Sabbath, the main character, is there to help this other character called Oldie, who is the caretaker. And it's up to you to really keep everything in check and make sure all the kami or spirits have everything, and there might be some problems, infestations, etc., etc. So we need to find a balance between fun gameplay and also able to explore these rooms and interact with these NPCs, which I think is more important than the actual tight gameplay stuff of a 3D platformer.
But then, we can't lean so much into the story and the characters that it doesn't feel like a fun game to play.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't feel, we want to make sure it's fun to move through these worlds and interact with these characters and, fight the enemies and collect all the things.
Spamming A in a Pokemon game, it gets tiring after a while, so I don't want to make it like that. But I want you to be able to go into these rooms and you'd look at this character, the NPC, and you'd be like, yeah, this is definitely what his room would look like. Maybe he's like a spirit of time, and his room is just this gigantic, endless desert with hourglasses and this surrealism environment. And it's like, yeah, that does make sense. I definitely want to expand more on the level design and kind of make it extreme in the way where it's like really creative and it doesn't have to make sense.
Yeah, and I think for me, like, wanting to play this game, not only wanting to make this game, but as somebody who really wants a Kami game and wants to play it, I just want to, like, explore the world that you built and just exist in that world and, like, hang out in there and, like, meet these characters. So I think as long as we nail that appeal, then I think it's okay for the action and the platforming stuff to be secondary to that. So in terms of where we're going from here, I guess there's a lot up in the air for us. We're still kind of deciding whether we're making a smaller game first or whether we want to go all out and try to make this like a really big, more full-featured game. That kind of depends on our life situations and how much funding we get and how things unfold in that direction. But I think we want to do sort of a prologue first and do like a shorter game that's just like a preview of what we can do, that introduces the world and the characters and gets their journey started and is something that we can deliver relatively quickly, like ideally this year, and just get people's hands on it, get people playing it and enjoying it and hooked into our world and giving us feedback on what they want out of this world and what else we can bring them.
Yeah, we are for sure I mean, at least on my side, and I believe on your side as well, is like, we really want to make this game and we really want to finish it. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see where this lands and where this goes. And ultimately, you know, I've done a short film, I've done a little bit of animations and reels and stuff like that, but I really do feel like my characters and my world and stuff really fit and really resonate in the game than anywhere else. So I'm really excited to give my characters a lot of life and actually make this world more expansive than what it was in the Imaginasium, the short film.
Yeah, and it's been really cool on my end, just like implementing all the stuff you give me. I mean, it was probably I don't know if it was the first day, but definitely the first week where, you know, we got a simple character controller with Sabbath running around, and then you gave me the jump animations.
Yeah.
Where like you jump and his head squishes and like pops off and spins around, and then we got the double jump where his head squishes even more and gets like shoved up into the air, and it's just so like there's just so much style in that, and it's just such a fun animation style, and it makes it fun just to run and jump around. And so like with each step of the way that we've been expanding the game and making more things, like I'm just like, it just feels great. This just feels fun. And yeah, I'm excited to see where that goes.
I haven't made a lot of music for it or sound design, but that's also been really fun, like with the balloon and the popping.
Oh my God, the balloon sound is so good.
Yeah, we have like a balloon where instead of like, you know, the question mark box in Mario, it's a balloon and you pop it. And confetti pops out, and there's a bunch of kids yelling like, yay! But yeah, it's really cool experimenting with the sound effects and kind of doing a lot more than what I can do in like animations and stuff. Thanks for watching. So if you want to follow me, my Instagram or any social media stuff, it's kami.exp, or my website is kamiexp.com. All my stuff is there as well. We'll be doing more devlogs. Where can people follow you?
I'm on all the platforms as Jason of the Storm. Kami's definitely going to be like the person to follow, who's like posting the most information and the most updates. I do a bunch of other stuff on the side, so my accounts are more of a mix of things that I do. But of course, feel free to follow me as well. And I guess by the time we put this up, maybe we'll have a Discord that people can join. So if we have a Discord, then go ahead and join it. If not, then just be patient. We'll be making one soon, I'm sure. And yeah, thanks for your support. Thanks for listening.